Come on, you do it. Julip started in 1945, a long, long time ago. None of us were around then, thank God. It was started by a lady, there's a lady at the back of the picture, Annabel Levaux, who actually was a sculptress. She used to repair rocking horses for people, and she came up with this idea. She had a very old book, which I've got from the 1940s, on how to make models using fabric. And so that is from the 1940s, and she started making these fabric horses. And then she wrote and illustrated a book called A Tale of Julip, and that's where the name came from, which incidentally she made up. Because when I took over the company in 1984, I was told that Julip was the son of Pegasus, hence the foal with wings. But after extensive research in the library, I discovered that Pegasus had two sons, neither of which were called Julip, and later Lavender actually told me she made up the name. So it all started with these fabric models, and this is their first ever workshop. And one of the concepts of it, which is in Julip today, is the fact that they have bending legs. So Lavender told me that she used to go to the bombed out buildings after the Second World War and pick the bits of lead out, and she used to use the lead in those models, which obviously you couldn't use today, in order that they'd have bending legs. And you could spray, they're made of chamois leather, these, so you can actually spray them and colour them. And check out the hairdos and the clothes from the period. Somebody called Madeline Gregor, I think it is, she's written on there. And there's another one of all the girls working in the workshop, and you can see they're painting their hand painting on the chamois as well. They've got zebras and they've got some dogs there as well in the foreground. So that's the whole concept of Julip. It is actually the oldest model horse company in existence. It actually started before Breyer, and obviously Stone and all the other ones. So, and it all started in London's Knightsbridge in Bond Street, and then it moved to Beecham Place, where the shop ran until Amanda?
Recently.
And there are the girls again working in the 1940s, and this is one of the very, very early catalogues, Julip catalogues. Now at this stage in the 50s they moved to latex, and if I have got latex models here, and I can tell you that the way that we make them with these plaster cast models and rubber, and the wires are still in there so that the horses can still bend. These are obviously early ones that come out, from an early stage come out of the model. They are still made exactly the same way as they were, and you'll see some later pictures in the workshops that nothing much has changed. This is one of the first catalogues that came out, and this would have been in the 1950s, showing the Julips, and by then we started adding show jumps, the riders, all dressed with their little felt outfits, still made exactly the same way as they have done from the 50s. And then you can see the price is in D pence or whatever, however we had it then, long before our pounds and pence. And this was a catalogue shot from the 1950s. Again, all bendy, all the little details that we have on Julip today, tack, the mouth open to take the bit, we like the riders to sit properly, the stirrups you can run up and down, there's a buckle for the saddle, tack was always made of leather. Nowadays, for the more commercial Julips, we have to make them in vinyl, so we're not allowed to use leather. But that's the 1950s Julip. And then there's some utterly gorgeous, come on in. It's something I've thought about replicating, so people can tell me what they think, but this is the packaging from the 1950s as well, which I think the cartoons and the designs are absolutely gorgeous on them. And then, in 1965, this couple, the lady in the glasses on the right and the gentleman at the back, Mr. and Mrs. Heath, were the second owners of Julip. They bought it in 1965, which incidentally was the year I was born. And as you can see, looking at the stuff that I use today, this is very much exactly the same as before. The same mould, same bits of elastic around the mould, same as the horses coming out, and you see all the ones in the foreground that haven't been spray painted. The wires are being prepped over on that side of the picture. You can see the arch. Those are the wires which go in over the central section of the mould before the rubber is poured in. They're made of liquid latex. Even the jugs with the tin lids on them, you'll see one in the corner, you'll see in a later picture when we're in the workshop, exactly the same. In fact, some of the equipment there we still use now, which is a bit scary. And again, that's all of the horses. And some of these breeds, existing collectors will recognise there. I can see a Connemara in there, I can see a Hunter, I can see Arab Stallion. What else can you see? Lots of ones that we use today. And these are some of their early catalogue shots, and as you can see, lots more is now being added to the Julip range. We've got hay nets, we've got little buckets that have been moulded in latex. the wooden ladders, they've got the huntsman there on the left with his hands, and a little dove up on the roof there. This is from the 70s, and we've got today's doves on the table there, so everything is very much still going. And then they went even more beautiful, and this is an array of the carts that they did. The cart horse on the left, his collar is moulded in latex as well. All the beautiful leather tap that they did with the donkey in his cart, and that beautiful gypsy caravan, which I still have, and probably should have bought, but there was limited space in the vehicle to bring all of this wonderful archive stuff. Come and sit down. And then obviously Jubilee year we have to look at, they made a model of the Queen, sadly, this particular one, that was made in the, we think it's late 50s, early 60s, no, it would be early 60s. I don't know who's got it or where it is, but I believe it went through on eBay. Do you remember that, Amanda? I'm sure that somebody bought the Queen a few years ago on eBay and it went for several £100. But outside on your way out, you'll see a julep table on the far wall, and in it is a glass case, and it's a fur julep. It's made with real skin, and that one was made in 1952 for the coronation. So that julep out there is 60 years old, and two were made. One was made for the Queen herself and sent to Buckingham Palace, and that one stayed with a lady that ran the shop in Beecham Place in London, and she very kindly gave it to me when she retired from running the shop. So I was quite lucky on that score. Now, just to give you an example of how juleps have changed a little, the top picture is from the I think we put it down to early 70s, and the one, no, that one's from the 50s, sorry, the one at the top, and this one is from the late 1970s. So as you can see, very little has changed in terms of production of julep over the years. This lady, those that will know Julip very well, the late Lady Redgrave, lovely actress, was a huge fan of Julip horses, and this photograph was taken at 18 Beecham Place in London's Knightsbridge, where the second Julip workshop moved to in the very late 40s, early 50s. All of the pictures on the wall are drawn, a lot of the pictures are drawn by children who visited the shop, and when Julie finally left, I think it was in 1999 or something like that, wasn't it? It was quite late, Amanda. You walked down this staircase and it was just lined with hundreds of pictures that had been drawn by children that visited the shop. There were people like, the Duchess of York, when she was a child, she remembered Beecham Place and had juleps from there. And there were various people who'd come from all over the world. And out of the back, even though it was in central London, you'd walk out into this courtyard and there was the old workshop under an apple tree. Sadly, the shop never belonged to us, and when Julie finally retired, she leased the shop. They completely decimated the inside, and it's now Penhaligon's, a perfume shop, and they've built right over the courtyard. The apple tree's gone, the workshop's gone, everything has gone, and it's now like a modern shop interior, which is such a shame. Personally, I think we ought to have one of those blue plaques for Julie, anyway, we'll see. And this is from about 4 or 5 years ago, and as you can see, this is me and Sue working in the workshop, and nothing has changed from those early black and white pictures. And like I said, I've brought samples of stuff here for you to see. Julip will start off as a sculpture. This one was done by a local girl. It's our current Irish draft in our range. It's done on the metal spike so that it doesn't get damaged, because it's very, very soft. Sadly, as you'll see in the next picture, somebody dropped it. But luckily, I took it back to her and she made it like that again, and we were able to then cast and make these plaster of Paris moulds from which we make the Julip range with their bending legs. And there just shows the various processes from coming out of the mould, liquid latex is hardened, to one that's been stuffed and prepped, ready for painting. First stage of painting, hairing, and a lovely attractive jam jar with the white paint we're going to use to put socks and various bits and pieces on it. Liquid latex in jugs, poured into the plaster of Paris mould, left to dry off. That's basically how the process works. It actually takes a very, very long time. This is Tuppence, who comes to help me frequently. It's not always a good idea having a dog in a painting workshop. About a month after that was taken, I had a whole table of black horses ready for Christmas. I was painting the white just like I'm doing here. And Tuppence, bless her heart, somebody walked in that she recognised. She leapt up, turned around, her tail went in the white paint. She wagged it, and that side of black horses were covered in white spots. It was only 2 weeks before Christmas. I walked out of the room and went away to hyperventilate for half an hour, and then I had to go back, respray them all black, and start all over again. Now, the reason why I ended up with Julip is Mr. and Mrs. Heath in 1965, like I said, and when I was aged 6 years old, my mother bought me from the shop in Salisbury at the time these two Julips. Kate, because I had we were very lucky we had horses as children. Kate we had a Palomino pony, and Topsy was my own Strawberry Road little Welsh pony. She bought these two Julips when I was 6, so basically they're now 41 years old, which actually is making me feel terribly old. When I was older, I was sent to school in France, and I took my Julips with me because they went everywhere with me. As you all know, I'm sure when you're collecting your models go everywhere, but you might certainly did. And the French children really liked them, so my mother thought it would be a really great idea to sell them for the company in France. So she approached Mr. and Mrs. Heath and said about doing it, and they were a bit reluctant. And anyway, to cut a long story short, Mum said that she'd be very interested one day in buying the company. But Mrs. Heath is deeply religious, and she didn't want to sell the company until she had a sign from the Lord, and I'm not joking. And apparently she went to a Billy Graham concert, who's a preacher. For young people who won't know, they're the people who sort of shout praise the Lord and bless him and all the rest of it. And she got her sign, and she rang up my mother and said, I'm ready to sell the company. By which time I was working advertising in London, and Mum said, do you want to come back home to Dorset? You know, we've got a chance to do a Julip. So stupidly I said yes. And basically in '84, we ended up as joint owners of Julip, and here I am many years later, still doing it. And here's one of our more recent. As you see, the paint jobs are getting a lot better, a lot more shading with the Julips. You know, we're exploring the different colours. And on the left, you'll see our donkeys that came out for our diamond anniversary when Julip turned 60 a couple of years ago. This one, Storm, was our best-selling ever. We used to do catalogue models. Obviously, no two Julips are ever the same because they're hand-painted, but we used to, in our catalogues every year, just have a little selection of handmade horses. This was Storm, and it was always, and even today I still get orders for Storm, is our best-selling ever original. They just love the spottiness, they love the long-leggedness of it, they just love it. So that was Storm. And then these are just examples of some of the Julips that we've done, you know, and we photographed them with our pub behind. I'm not quite sure why we've got a pub, but anyway, we've got a pub backdrop that we use for photographing. Some of the riders we do, there's a little kitty that's just out of focus there. And these are all the handmade horses. This is a polo riding set. There's so much you can do with Julip, the polo one that we did. And then this is one of our handmade recent riders, fully bendy, they sit beautifully on the horses, all hand done. And this is when we won an award back in a Horse and Hound Award. We took the Julips to Germany back in 1985. The other thing we do is portrait models. This horse, hairy horse, Rocky up there, belongs to a collector of ours, and she asked us to do the markings and everything. You see, we did that on a cob stallion on the right. You can see, if you look around, quite complicated patches Rocky's got on his hindquarters. And then later, Georgie bought him with his gypsy caravan to one of our Julip live shows. There's lots to do with Julip. Now, in the very late 80s, it became evidently clear that doing handmade horses, Julips were always conceived as toys. They were never supposed to be beautiful collectibles like the Brays with all the muscle definition and the stuff that you show and put neatly on the shelf. You can literally hurl a Julip across the room and it won't break. They were designed as toys, and by the late 80s, early 90s, with all the health and safety standards, it was fairly evident that the rubber horses were never, you know, they were going to die out. We couldn't sell them to children under 40 years old. They were classed as doll's house products, wires in the legs, leather in the tack. So we had to take the concept of Julip, which was, you know, flexible playing horses and all the bits and pieces that go with it, and come up with something else. And we then had to go commercial, which is where the Horse of the Year range, as it's known, was developed, which are the ones that you see in the boxes. They're weighty, they're not hollow plastic, they're solid, you can move the legs, you can tack them and do all the stuff, very much the toy side of it, and that then went into the shops. This shop is a sort of mock-up we did for one of the very first toy fairs in London, and they're very, very early, but commercially machine-moulded Julips, the first ever machine-moulded ones that we did. They got a little bit more sophisticated as time went on. This is from one of our Christmas catalogue shops. We have great things growing in the snow. We do tend to play a lot with Julip. Doesn't matter whether you're at a show or doing a photo shoot or whatever, we do still play. And then there's another recent shot of current Julips that we're doing now in Montana, the Appaloosa. Now, another thing that we did is the ILPH, International League of Protection Horses, which is now World Horse Welfare, had this horse called Bob, and they asked me to make a Julip of it. And I also looked after the real horse Bob when he was a youngster for a while, and he became their equine ambassador. And this fantastic picture was taken by the newspapers was of Bob meeting Bob. There's the Julip Bob we did. Bob actually had one brown eye, one blue eye. We did this as a set that was boxed up like that to fundraise. Julip does a lot of fundraising for different charities. This one we did for the ILPH. And then Bob went on, this promotional thing was done because he went up to Horse of the Year show, and then ultimately on the left you can see me holding the gift set. Stevenson Brothers made a rocking horse, and the chap in the middle, Dan, is from the Devil's Horsemen, who've always been great friends of Julip over the years. And that was all of us doing a promotional thing for Bob, Julip, Stevenson, and everything up at Horse of the Year show. Lots of adventures with Julip, go to lots of places. This is Bob when he was at home in the middle of the winter, quite young, looking very hairy, and we decided to make him a cake for his birthday. It had to be a black and white cake, obviously, for Bob. And then this is when we were up at Hicksford with Rolio, who was the president at the time, or whatever his role is. But this is the first of the fundraising check. We actually raised several £1,000s in the end for the ILPH. The other thing we did was for the Mark Davies Injured Riders Fund, which is a charity that looks after people who've been very badly injured in horse riding accidents and who have no medical help, in terms that they really didn't anticipate having such a bad accident, and they can go to the Mark Davies Injured Riders Fund and get support that way. We did a polo set to go up to Cowdray Park where they were doing big sales, and we were there up there with Mike Bushell from the BBC, whose daughters collect Julip, or collected Julip then when they were a bit younger. And again, we did a load of fundraising for them. So Julip is, there's a lot to it. There's the history, the way it's made, the places we go, all the stuff we do. It's really quite well known within its own circle. Here, Ted was he's a character in a book. We made the model, that's Ted peeking out from behind his book. That was back in the early 2000s. We have brushes branded with Julip that a brush company asked if they could use our logo on. We also used to, on the dandy brushes, we used to do the paint on the horses' names for the children, and also I did 2 brushes for Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, who were also Julip collectors, and we were asked to do shampoo, which I still have somewhere. Very good stuff, actually. And then for me, because of my age, Christine Fulham-Thompson, the Fulham-Thompson sisters, 3 sisters, wrote the most amazing pony stories, which I grew up with, and I'm very honoured when they asked whether they could write one all about Julips, and it was obviously, we did a cover shot for them of the Julip Horses and Riders, and that book was out for a while. I've still got, probably think it might be on the table outside. Then also we go and do the horse shows. This is an early Horse of the Year show, and basically we just shove everything up there with buckets of bits and pieces, and then the children just pile on and they play and they redo my display, and that's basically what we're like at the show, so people just get into Julip and enjoy it, and there's everybody. That's at Olympia, it's Christmas, hence the tinsel and the lights. I think I even painted the walls with teeth and stuff. That's great fun. Now, then we moved into the 2000s doing the live shows, which is what you're here to do today. You lot, are you exhibiting your in the tent doing horses or anything? You're just up here to have a look. This is our first ever live show, and this will give you an idea of some of the things that people do with Julips. They have what they call scene classes, where you use Julip props to make a scene. And this one was done for our 65th anniversary. And everything that's in that picture, including the food that's on the table, was handmade by one of our collectors, Laura Ribbett. And then this is a shop that was done, all the little tiny tack bits, this is very much what you see in the scene classes, but Julip ones. So if you look inside, it's a pretty amazing tack shop, even for a real one. Even the little tiny bits, everything, this girl has made. This is at Fox and Hounds, everybody's celebrating outside the pub, Julip style, we like it. And this was a police horse that was done by Jan. Again, you take, in your scene class, you'll say, a working horse, for example, and so she did a police horse, which I think is also fantastic. We do competitions, photo competitions. This one's an Easter, obviously, photo competition. Made us all very hungry. And there's another one that somebody did. I love the concept of Julip sleeping out the chocolate egg. Now, the other thing as well that a lot of collectors do, especially with Freya, is customising horses, and a lot of people feel that you can't customise Julips, which is actually not true. They are solid, so they're not, you can't like melt them and bend them and do stuff in the same way, but you can customise them. And 1 year at our lives, we set the challenge of customising a silver mist, which is in the box there on the front. That was one of them, and I will show you to the extreme what you can do with the Julip. That is one of them there. That is also a silver mist, believe it or not. And then even more extraordinary was, this was done by Sue, who's judging in the tent today, and Fran did this, which is also where she's cut and added to, and that is again from an original Julip Horse of the Year, I should say, body, plastic body, so you can do an awful lot. If you like, if you're creative, you can do an awful lot with the Julip horses. And then this is just basically from early days to today. On the left, you will see an original chamois leather Julip from the tail of Julip, and on the right is a donkey that we brought out for our 60th anniversary, which basically shows Julip from 1945 to now, today, and that basically is the history of Julip. Is there anything anybody wants to ask? No? Anything else you want to know? Okay.
Very good.
That's all right.
Do you ever do work on restoring older ones?
Yes. We have an expert over here. Yes, yeah, older ones, if you find a lot of people buy them on eBay, and they do need restoring. I'm in two minds about it. I personally won't do it, because I think Julips should be left as they are. But because some of them that people get, they're really hard to come by, and some of them are so original and so rare, it seems to me wrong. But people do restore them. And you use, what do you use, Amanda?
I use, well, it depends on what's wrong with the model. If it's a few scuffs or sort of ear tips, I can replace that with modelling putty, and you can do a lot with super glue and acrylic paint. If they have sadly gone the consistency of very ripe brie, then more drastic measures need to be taken.
It's having to stand on a piece of cardboard because it sticks to anything.
Well, yeah, no, they do go sticky, and it's like with Kate and Magic, the one I got after, this is an old handy
It would be a
hamster.
similar vintage.
She hasn't gone sticky, but but the wires started coming through, so I just bandaged her leg. But Magic's gone sticky, and I don't want to touch it because it's one of my original ones.
It would be about probably 1969, 1970.
It's like rehairing, because I know people have said they haven't been sealed up, but because the original made themselves were made of sheep's fleeces, they were
And
definitely.
you're not going to believe it. I had
They get
3,
eaten.
and 2 of them, they were so, the rubber would come off to such an extent that I got rid of them. I put them in the bin.
You would be amazed what you can do.
Well,
I've
I told him not to.
I've got one in that box over there that I've completely rebuilt. He's not bendy anymore because I've had to rebuild him with epoxy putty. But I've got one that was basically a body.
But I've got
I had to take all the legs.
one
took
left.
his legs.
It was a model that it was a Welsh Arab.
A Welsh Arab.
Welsh Arab it was called.
He's on one of the
Referring
older.
to the collectors that do a lot more research than me.
We'll go look in my archive in a bit. I'll find a picture for you.
Yeah, no, don't, whatever you do, throw away the last.
No.
You're not getting anywhere near that one, I know you're not having it back.
Well, you can restore it, can't you?
If I knew how to, I would.
Oh, well, there, ask Amanda. Amanda's here all day, so, and tomorrow, so not a problem at all. But, you know, eBay's the place to look. That's really where they get traded, all the old Julips.
And we've still got all the old bits and pieces.
Your bucket lids, I mean.
The buckets went on.
I put green marks on it in my holster.
Yeah, I saw a lot of the stuff will be coming out tomorrow, because obviously tomorrow's the Julip day, so I've got my entire collection here, and there's all sorts of bits and pieces, and Amanda and Paris have bought them. But yes, they can be restored. You can do a lot with the Julip. And the great thing is you can hurl them around, they don't break, like some of the other models around, so. I wouldn't, obviously suggest hurling around things from the 60s or 70s. But, yeah. So do you think you might be interested in collecting Julip? Yeah?
Hooray!
Yes.
More collectors.
Well, I know it's a very small, compared to Julip, we are not a massive American commercial company like some I could mention. There's not huge advertising, pushy this, pushy that. It's very much a family-run business, and it's been going for so long because quality, caring. We've been around for ages. Generations collect them, and they'll carry on for a very, very long time. I'm sure. So, and if you want to have a look at, there's more stuff on the way out on that table, including our 60-year-old Queen.